Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are going to get started shortly with today's webinar. I still see that we have some people logging in, so we're going to give them a few minutes to just get set up and get ready, and then we'll be back in a few minutes after the hour to kick off today's webinar. All right, good morning or good afternoon to everyone on the call. We are happy that you're taking some time out of your day to attend today's webinar where we'll be diving into our energy storage integration with Yotta Energy and what it's bringing to the CNI energy storage market. So thank you so much for being here. A few quick housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and we'll send it out to everyone who registered for the webinar along with a copy of the slide deck that you're about to see. We'll be doing Q&A at the end of the webinar, but if you have a question, please chat it using the questions feature in your GoToWebinar panel, and we will get to it at the end. So, Energy Toolbase and Yotta Energy, the reason why we're here today. We are super excited to have partnered with Yotta Energy to make commercial energy storage system deployment more seamless for you. Through the ETB developer platform, users can now model energy storage savings for Yotta SolarLEAF 3-phase 208V and 480V energy storage system, leveraging Acumen EMS controls. Users can also purchase and deploy systems easily through this integration, and the goal of it is to deliver a unique solution to the commercial energy storage market. So in today's webinar, we are going to be covering a lot, more so into the why of why we're partnering together. We're going to go in depth into Yotta's hardware offerings for energy storage systems for the commercial market, optimizing the system with Acumen EMS, the application process and workflow of working with ETB and Yotta. So we have a lot to cover, and we have an awesome group of speakers on today for you. Scott D'Ambrosio, he is the VP of Sales at Energy Toolbase. Andrew Tanner, he is the Chief Technology Officer at Yotta. Stephen McVicker, he is the Manager of Business Development at Energy Toolbase. And finally, Mitch Sargent, he's Business Development and Sales Manager at Yotta. So before I pass it off to our speakers, I'd like to conduct a quick poll. This is going to help tailor our content throughout the webinar. You're going to see questions pop up at the top of your screen. So if you could just take a moment to answer those, that would be great. All right, thank you so much for participating in those polls. We had some great responses in there. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Scott to get us started.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I appreciate your time. Energy Toolbase has been cultivating a relationship with Yotta for many years. In any partnership, we conduct a thorough evaluation across multiple dimensions: sales, operations, engineering, and product. This ensures we're aligning with Tier 1 equipment and Tier 1 partners. Our partners must not only grasp, but also exceed the expectations of our customers. This includes product quality, exceptional communication, swift response times, and overall product market fit. It's been a long time coming, and today I'm proud to showcase our partnership with Yotta, which brings a leading edge solution to the small and medium commercial customers. I want to say thank you to the Yotta team that helped bring this vision to light, and excited to showcase it to everybody here today. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Scott, and equally delighted to be spending time with you all today. I want to first express my appreciation to the Energy Toolbase team, being on the technology side of Yotta and involved in the integration for quite some time now. It has been just an amazing experience to work with the likes of Quinn and Daniel on this integration. And maybe also a shout out to Sean on our team. There's been a lot of hard work that's got us to this point, and it's fantastic for us to be officially launching this integration. By way of background, I've been in distributed energy storage for commercial industrial for about 10 years. I was previously with a company called Jelly, which was ultimately acquired by Q-Cells. So I've known the founder of ETB and other senior colleagues of Scott for nearly 10 years now, and it is awesome to be partnering with them and seeing the analytics through to runtime coming to life via this integration. By way of some further insight into, of course, our company and where we're positioned, Yotta is on a mission to simplify the deployment of energy storage for the commercial industrial sector, in particular for mid-market C&I. We're talking typically in the hundreds of kilowatts of solar deployment. 95% of buildings are less than 50,000 square feet, and 75% of buildings are less than 10,000 square feet. So we're focused on addressing the biggest portion of the market by providing a simple, scalable energy storage solution. You can see it here under the arm of one of my colleagues. It's about the size of a briefcase. It is a 1 kilowatt hour increment of energy storage that co-locates and installs directly beneath solar modules on the rooftop. Mitch, I think you've zoomed in on the slides. We're getting it cropped. There we go. Perfect. So what makes Yotta specifically unique and what enables this particular technology? It's in fact our patented passive thermal management technology. It gets very hot under solar modules, and consequently batteries would have the potential to also get very hot. What we spent many years refining and bringing to market is this entirely passive approach, where we leverage a combination of ceramics with a phase change material and a novel heat exchange design to prevent the battery from overheating. If you were to actually look at the thermal cycling of the battery, you would think that we've bolted on an HVAC system to the side of the battery. In reality, it's entirely passive and solid state. So there are no moving parts, no serviceable parts, and that is, operation and maintenance is one of the key challenges for systems being deployed in the 50 kilowatt hour, 100 kilowatt hour plus scale. It can consume the economics of operating the asset throughout its lifetime. We obviously address that with an entirely solid state approach. Another key thing to note about this thermal design is it actually doubles as a fire protection mechanism. So every kilowatt hour is encased in its own fire protected enclosure, and that ceramic insulator is equivalent to a fire blanket being wrapped around the kilowatt hour battery. And we also then have these units spaced on a rooftop and a pillar of fire safety as separation. So we're arguably the safest commercial industrial energy storage solution available in market. We've passed 9540A with flying colors, and have had no pushback to date with AHJs looking to deploy this technology on the merits of its safety. Next slide, please. So this is a quick animation of how the battery installs beneath solar modules. We leverage the weight of the battery as ballast. And so this is a panel floor racking system here. We are designed to fit exactly into that ballast tray and leverage the weight of the battery. So, you know, panel floor and other manufacturers can in fact factor the weight of the battery to displace concrete ballast. It also means that the marginal cost to install our technology is quite low, because you would have otherwise been lifting concrete blocks onto the rooftop. You can see adjacent to it is a three-phase microinverter. As Tracy mentioned, this is available in both 208 volt three-phase native or 480 volt three-phase native. And so we're servicing both three-phase voltages for commercial industrial. Hitting on the key points of the technology, while solar plus storage rolls off the tip of the tongue with AC coupled technology, it really is a bespoke system coupled to solar. It has a lot of challenges, in particular where you site the energy storage system is one of those. It's also considered by the utility as a separate generator. So you're adding, you could be overloading a transformer, whereas we're on the DC side and we have a single point of interconnection via the microinverter. Very simple installation and minimal maintenance over the life of the system. We can scale in kilowatt hour increments. So if you want a 61 kilowatt hour system, you know, to meet, for example, Title 24 in California, we can deliver you the exact kilowatt hours needed for that. You can also come back and augment the system and increase the capacity over the life of the system. So for example, if you added a load or EV charger or things like that and needed more capacity, or the utility change the tariff, not that they of course ever do that, you can add energy storage at a later date. I touched on safety, and ultimately this leads to a lowest system cost.
Thank you, Tanner. I will take it from here. So the voice you're listening to is Mitch Sargent. We're gonna take a little bit of a deeper dive here into our architecture and ultimately leading into how do you model this in Energy Toolbase. So building off of what Andrew Tanner has already mentioned, we have coupled our energy storage device with a microinverter to continue with that theme of providing the safest option on the market. So utilizing a 4-port microinverter, so that's our DPI in either 208 three-phase or 480 three-phase. We've got a very simple solution. It's low voltage, no fire risk. It's higher production when compared to string inverters. You get down to the panel visibility. They're all inherently rapid shutdown compliant, and all this kind of brings it to easier to troubleshoot. Which is very important for, you know, a system that's going to sit on a roof for 30 years. You want to limit the amount of truck rolls to service a site, and our system allows for that. So you know exactly what you need to bring in the truck before you even get there. You don't need 1 or 2 visits just to troubleshoot. You already know. And the reliability rating is extremely high as well, with warranties of 25 years. So 4-port microinverter means 1 device for every 4 panels, and then you can basically choose whatever you want for ratio when it comes to the SolarLEAF. So generally what I spend most of my day doing is analyzing loads for particular sites, and we'll talk about kind of some of the value added services that Yotta provides in a moment. But depending on whatever the load is of the building, we'll size the ESS accordingly, and again, down to the kilowatt hour, which is super nice, so you're not pigeonholed into these giant chunks of energy storage where you either have too little or maybe you've oversized. So what this results in is the lowest CapEx for exactly what the customer needs when it comes to how big their energy storage is going to be. It's scalable, like we already mentioned. It solves that question of where do we put it, which is obviously a lot of the time half the battle when it comes to adding energy storage is where the heck do you put the thing? Well, you've already allocated the roof space to the PV system, or maybe it's a carport or a ground mount system. You can just easily add the energy storage there. And everything's running on the PV wiring that you're already doing, so you're eliminating a lot of those other costs. And then you can bring to the customer a lot of financial advantages like energy arbitrage, real-time peak shaving, demand response revenue, making sure you've got the things you need for something like SCHIP. Overall, when we're looking at this, most of the time when we're applying these to PV systems, they're in areas that have high demand charges or high rates of time of use increases into the evening. So those are the primary places to look for where to add energy storage. And typically we see faster ROIs with the system and obviously an increase in overall savings. So energy storage is definitely a benefit for the end customer. Just a quick glimpse of what the competition is. I'm not saying that these don't have a place in the market. They certainly do, especially at utility scale. But lots of times at the smaller CNI and medium CNI level, those are overkill. They're expensive to put in, complicated, and it takes a lot of time just to even quote out. Our system is so simple just to get a quote out to a customer. You can really strike when that iron's hot and not necessarily even need to go analyze the site. I'm not saying you don't need to do that eventually, but just for the proposal stage, our system makes it very easy to get out a quick quote. Looking at the architecture really quick, I know we've talked about it, but here you can see it. So the panel actually connects directly into the SolarLEAF. And if you've arranged the batteries on the rooftop, you don't necessarily need a 1-to-1 ratio. Again, we determined the system size. So our DPI microinverter allows for either a battery or the solar module to be plugged in directly. So in instances where you don't have a battery placed there, the module just connects right into the DPI. We're looking at panel wattages around 600 watts, so it's definitely capable of those higher wattage mods that you want to use on CNI projects with little to no clipping at all. Again, this is running on the PV wiring, so not a separate system needed that's independent. So you're cutting out a lot of these redundant costs. So let's look at costs for a second. This is SCHIP data for installed system costs across California. So we looked at a ton of different systems and how much they cost per kilowatt hour across the state. And you can see there's really expensive systems that have been installed per kilowatt hour basis. The Yotta system allows you to really linearly look at and install costs. So it eliminates a lot of those variables because we're so good at installing PV. We've got those costs down to a T. Now adding the energy storage to it isn't that much. It's barely any labor, if any labor at all. All it is 2 MC4s that you got to click together, and you've already kind of accounted for that labor by ballast blocks, and now you're just switching out the ballast blocks with the battery plus 2 MC4s. So very simple. So when you look at the installed costs, when we look at our competition here, there's a lot of these sort of outside costs that if you look at the straight what's my dollar per kilowatt hour? That can be confusing if you're looking at a standalone battery, because you don't know exactly what the site is going to dictate in terms of what's needed. Do I have to trench? Do I have to pour a pad? Do I have to put those posts in so cars don't run into the battery? What are we doing? So these are all costs that need to be associated and lumped in with that per kilowatt hour cost. With the Yotta system, it's a battery, a gateway, and it's much simpler. So let's talk about features of the battery. So, when are you going to offer this to a customer? Who is that ideal customer? So let's talk about some of the features that the battery brings. First and foremost, probably arguably the most lucrative benefit of the battery is energy arbitrage. So the battery will charge in the morning and discharge later in the afternoon when that time of use rate spikes. So say it's a 4 p.m. start where that rate has a 30% increase. So now you're going to discharge the batteries during those moments and help offset those high costs. Peak shaving, this is all done with Energy Toolbase's Acumen hardware that's going to control the dispatching of the batteries. Peak shaving is done in real time. So we'll monitor the building load, and if we determine that when the HVAC system kicked on, or maybe it's a medical building and has some X-ray machines that are going on and off all day long, but those ons are very intensive, drawing a lot of kW from the grid, and our system can view that and dispatch the batteries to offset those high demand charges. Demand response revenue, again, this is another feature that Energy Toolbase Acumen can unlock for us. This gives your end client revenue, and you can now model this in Energy Toolbase's developer and have this modeled into your proposals. We'll look at a case study in just a few moments here about what the value of demand response can actually bring. It's very, very cool, and I'm happy that we can now model that in Energy Toolbase. New utility rate plans. So a lot of the time I'm modeling in California. I've probably modeled hundreds or if not thousands of sites across the United States. A lot of what I do, might be in California, and there's tons of rate plans that, if you size the ESS accordingly, you'll be eligible to switch to these. And, if you have the right offset from solar, a lot of them make a ton of sense for the client. And we'll look at a case study for that as well. Judging from the polls that we did earlier on, 50% of you roughly responded that you have not installed an ESS before. So I'm glad you're here. We being the Yotta team or members at Energy Toolbase, your rep there, we are a huge resource for you guys. So I really encourage you to reach out, ask for help, how to size, what the strategy of the ESS may be, et cetera, et cetera. So don't be shy when it comes to being new. Batteries are new for everybody, so just reach out. So here's a description of what demand charges are. So the bill is split into two parts. So it's unlike a residential bill where you get billed at your kilowatt hours used. You also get a penalty for how much energy used at a moment. So my analogy that I like to use is if you're filling your swimming pool in your backyard, sure, you're going to pay for the water. But if you used a fire hose instead of a garden hose and you filled that pool faster, you're going to get an extra penalty on top. That extra penalty would be your demand charge. When you add solar, you're offsetting that kilowatt hour usage, your energy charge, but you're not necessarily doing much, if anything at all, to the demand charge. So that's where the batteries come in. So the batteries see when a demand spike happens and will discharge the batteries to lessen that spike, and the resulting effect will lower the bill for your client. And then kind of a graphic representation of time of use here. So on the image on the left shows 4 p.m. That on-peak time is much more expensive. So you can also use the batteries to offset those increases in that late afternoon. And then, we use the term in the industry future proofing. I think that's a good term, especially because it gets the end client, whoever's saying yes, in the mindset of like, oh my gosh, yes, every year, these utility, they will increase their rates. And sometimes they like to say, oh, we didn't increase our energy charge, but they're rapidly increasing their demand charges, so they can sort of skirt that line of with, you know, where the increases are coming from. Oh, we kept your energy charge the same. Well, the demand charges are skyrocketing. I think right now in San Diego, they're at $72 per kilowatt. Like, that's just absolutely insane. So adding batteries to your proposals from solar only really benefits your client in a number of ways. And again, we've got a couple case studies in a second to look at. We've kind of already mentioned this here, but basically in this bottom image here, you've got your building load, what's being offset by PV, and then kind of where PV stops providing financial benefit, but where the batteries come in. So that you're basically moving the cheap energy and moving that stored energy to offset your more expensive rates in the later evening. That's just time of use arbitrage. So here is a case study. I'm still providing a solar only option, not because that's what I'm trying to sell to customers, but because I need to show the customers that batteries are not an adder. They're not a luxury item. It's not, you know, going from cloth seats in your car to leather. This is a tool for your customers to actually really increase how much savings they're getting from their investment. So here we've got the solar only payback period for this. This is a Southern California client. They were on GS3-D. They had a 6-year payback with solar, and their electric term savings was about 2.8 million. When we added our battery system, it went from 6-year payback down to 3.4 years. And then that electric term savings over the lifetime of the system went from 2.8 million all the way over $7 million. So they added a ton of cash for just a very little amount of extra CapEx expenditure. So definitely made a lot of sense to the client. Even in places that might not have demand charges, the battery still provides a lot, especially in California, but other places that have high time of use rates also will work. But let's take a look at this, where this was a multi-tenant building in Northern California. All the tenants were in B1, so nobody had demand charges. We did a VNEM solar system with batteries. Let's look at PV only here. Had a 4.1 year payback, and the term savings was 6.2 million, 6.3 million, decent. And then let's go over in the net payment. After all the incentives were said and done, $528,000 for this system. Let's just add the small ESS. So we did a 250 kilowatt hour ESS added to this. The payback period went from 4.1 to 3.5 years. And then the term savings went from 6.2, 6.3 million, all the way up to 8.5 million. So huge jump in savings. But the really interesting part of this is the net payment. So after the incentives, after all the federal and state depreciation and ITC were accounted for and factored in, as well as SCHIP, and then also demand response. So this is the direct result of adding Energy Toolbase's Acumen hardware to unlock the demand response revenue that the batteries can get your clients. So the net payment was $479,000, actually less than the net payment for PV only. So super, super cool. Okay, moving on here, we are going to start talking about adding batteries in ETB, but right before I do so, I just want to, before I pass the microphone over to the next presenter, I wanted to talk about some things to consider. So reach out to me or your RSM at Yotta for, you know, discussion on what's compatible, you know, what's the ultimate best way to install this, et cetera, et cetera. But some things, we we use panel claw FR10 or the dual tilt. That can be a ballasted or mechanically attached. Panel claw is great. They will go in and actually engineer the weight of the battery systems and stamp that. We're also compatible with Solega baskets. We're compatible with Iron Ridge XR series, the tilt leg, or even flush mount. If we're doing a pitched roof, it needs to be vetted by us, but it is potentially possible. It depends on the site. And then ground mounts, obviously. Aero Compact SN2, that's another ballasted or mechanically attached racking option. Opsun Systems, their Sunrail Performance series also is a great option. Like that option too, because it goes over vents on rooftops, which is very cool. Most carports and more compatibility options are coming. Some of these systems need some trays and things like that, but we can talk about that on a case-by-case basis. And then if you are going to be coming to RE+, please, please, please come say hi. We've got a great booth. It's outside, and we've got something to reveal, a little sneak peek, if you will. Okay, thank you. I'm going to pass this over. Stephen, can you take it from me? Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Mitch. I'm going to get my screen up and going. Okay, well, thanks again, Mitch. And my name's Stephen McVicker. I am the manager of business development here at Energy Toolbase. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of ETB Developer and modeling Yotta batteries in Developer. If you need a more in-depth look, please contact your account manager, and they will be more than happy to walk you through this. If you don't have an ETB Developer account, you can see them on the webpage right now. Click the free trial button, sign up for that free trial, and your onboarding manager will walk you through the platform. If you're not familiar with Energy Toolbase ETB Developer, as you can see right here, ETB Developer is the gold standard for utility rate and financial analysis of solar and storage projects. It's also the industry-leading energy storage simulation engine. So it's why we're here today. It's what we do well. And so I'm going to jump right into the platform here. So right here, you can see our dashboard of ETB Developers, what you get once you sign in. And like I said, going very high level, but you got your blue drop down buttons at the top here. I'm going to hover over this one right here, the utility rates database. Something I just like to highlight. If you're not familiar with us, we have a team of 10 people that this is what they do. We have over 120,000 rates in the system, 72 different countries. It continues to grow. We know utility rates and we do it well. And so if you're looking at modeling a rate, you're most likely going to find it. If you can't find it, we will work with you on seeing what we can do to get that added. On the right-hand side of this, you will also see that that account manager that you have assigned to you. So, you know, another thing that we're known for, our customer service. We give you their name, phone number, email address right here, and a schedule a meeting link. Hit that button, find a time that works for you, and schedule 15, 30, 45-minute meeting. We're there to help. We want to make sure you can use our platform and use it well. And so we're going to teach you to fish. So with that, you can also see we have a number of other boxes here. We have our leads overview box, designs created, web proposal sessions, and then your proposals, which is what we're going to get to do today. But to get to that point, we need to go back to the upper blue ribbon and to the lead box. And we are going to click create a new lead. So you click create a new lead, it brings you up on this page right here. This page here, you just go in, enter your client information, mailing address, all that information, and then it will take you to the edit lead page. If you get to this point and you are at a point where you're like, you know what, I don't want to do this, I want somebody else to do it, you can actually use a newer service of ours, and that is ETB Consulting. Click on this button and hand it over to us, and we will work with you on getting this full proposal done, including modeling your ESS. I've already started a lead, it's right here. So I am going to jump right into the lead that I have already created to save us some time. The information I entered on that primary box, that initial box, is right here on the left-hand side, including the mailing address, name, all that good stuff. On the right-hand side, you can see the meter box. So you can see I am set for a single meter, and that's how it's initially going to look. You can add as many meters as you want right here by clicking the Add Meter button and adding the address of that specific meter. So once you get that in and update that meter information, you go in here and you add your energy use profile. You click here. You can use utility API, green button data, spreadsheet interval data, monthly electric bills, or once again, you can have us do it for you. I did get this already done and create the energy use profile. As you can see here, it's an office building. I'll show you what the end result looks like once you enter that information. I, entered for this one. I got the data in there, and I selected the ALTOU rate from the utility bill that I had. So that's San Diego Gas and Electric. You can see effective date of 3/1/2024. I'll dig into the rate a little bit further on, but you can see this is the last date this rate was updated. We will give you the options to go back in the history of the rate. So we always recommend using the most recent effective date of that rate, the most updated numbers, because we're projecting into the future. We're not looking at the past. So this is the EUP that you've created. So we got into that, and once we're done creating the energy use profile, we move over to creating a proposal. We click the Add Proposal button here on the top right-hand section of this second box, and then it brings us to the Edit Proposal page. I've got one created to save us time again, so I'm going to jump right into that. But it's going to look exactly how you would see it. You get in here and you would see the Edit Proposal page right here. So you can see we got the meter number 1. You got a number of bits of information up here that you can go through and edit. Make sure this is correct. You can also see we got tax rate, discount rate, electricity escalation, currency symbol. To change any of that, just click in here and update. We're not tax professionals here at Energy Toolbase, so if you have tax-related questions, please contact your tax professional and get their advice. We just give you the options and the ability to update it to match what you need. You can see here, we got the ALTOU rate entered, but you also see I have the DGR rate. There is a rate switch option that you can do in Energy Toolbase. I'll just click on here, but you can see here, by adding the rate switch, you can force the customer to a new rate, or you can choose the rate schedule with the greatest savings. You can see I stuck with the same utility, but I switched over to the DGR rate. The effective date 3/1/2024 also, and that's a history of the updates of what that utility team is doing right here. So we grabbed the most recent one. You can show tax details, you can show metering details, rate schedule details right here, and supply details if you need to update any of those. Got the rate switch in here. Then the next step is to go to your right here and add your PV system. Very simple to do. Just click the plus button right here. You can see we're integrated with HealerScope and Scanify. You can import your designs right from them. You can also build it out in NWell with PV watt simulation, or import your spreadsheet interval data. I've got a PV array system built, 41.6 kilowatt DC power system. You can see approximate cost, DC power, AC power, a number of different numbers here. One I want to make you aware of, for when modeling the Yotta system, take a look at the AC nameplate, maybe right click and save that, write that down, 41.55 kilowatts, because we will need that number when we're modeling the battery in a few minutes. Go down, we can add costs and incentives. Just click the button and choose the incentives that the PV incentives that are applicable for your client. Once again, we're not tax professionals. Talk to them, find out what your client can get, add them right here. Number of incentives already in there for you to choose from. I've selected some of the basics. If you can't find it, click add incentive from the database. If you still can't find it, talk to your account manager and they can help custom build one for you, or at least point you in the right direction. You have the incentives done. I'm going to drop down, just show you this little pinup bar. You'll see this pop up and down as you're building out. Gives you just a running summary of what is going on with your project. You can see project cost, PV ratings, ESS ratings, annual usage, electric bill cost. I like to jump in and out of this as I'm building, just to kind of see where I'm at and what I'm doing. So I'm going to close that down, and we're going to go to the fun part here, and we're going to add energy storage right here. That's why we're here today. Click the Add the Energy Storage button. You can see we come up with 3 options. You got user defined, commercial, and residential. The commercial industry products are using our Acumen EMS control settings. Mitch touched on those a few times during his presentation. I'm going to click here. It brings you to this page. You can see here we have some of our integrated partners here, including Yotta. When you get to this page, if you do not see this, please reach out to us after this meeting at contact@energytoolbase.com and say you were on this presentation, and we can get that added. You can also contact your account manager, and they can work with you on getting that added, because it will not show up if we haven't added it for you yet. But you're at this page. We go over here, select Yotta as our system. Now we can start modeling with the Yotta system. I like to move over. I'm going to go down. I'm going to select the ESS model to the 480 right here. I'm now going to hit the software settings. This is the Acumen. This is the brain behind everything we're doing. And Mitch did a great job saying why we're here, why we're partnering. We do the demand charge management, the energy arbitrage. We're going to put the brain behind that battery to make sure it makes the wisest decisions based on the rate schedules and another number of other factors to always be looking for additional savings. If you're not familiar with the Acumen, we can get you more training on that. But here's just a little bit from our website. It's Energy Toolbase's Acumen EMS controls software utilizes AI and machine learning to forecast and optimally discharge energy storage systems operated in the field. If you want a live demo or schedule a call, just click on that. Your account manager will be in contact. You'll love it. Really learn the in-depths of modeling Acumen with your storage projects. Jump back in here. And you might say, okay, I really don't know. Am I doing demand charge management, energy arbitrage, solar PV, self-consumption? That's where you can work with your RSM, your regional account manager, regional sales manager, or work with Mitch and find out what is best for you. One of the things I like to do is, just for a quick high-level overview, is I'll click into the rate from that rate switch and go into my rate schedule, take a look at what makes up that rate. And that gives you a good idea of what we want to focus on. We have energy charges, we have demand charges. To me, that looks like a stacking opportunity, at least to try with, to start with. And then, then we can go back and say, maybe we just want to look at demand charge management. Maybe we want to just look at energy charges. But to me, this looks like a stacking opportunity. So that's when I jump back into where we're at and choose stacking right here, demand charge management, energy arbitrage right there. You can select a number of other settings, but remember I told you to remember that number for system coupling right there. And so you would paste this in here from that nameplate rating right there. That's the max combined PV and ESS power. Put it right here and then move forward with your modeling. You can then go to system replacement and choose how you want to treat the end of life of that battery. Once you have the software set up, end of life setting set up, and the system coupling setting, you can now move over to the right-hand side. And what we're going to do is we're going to run the optimizer. And the optimizer is going to tell us how many of those Yotta units we want to put on the roof. And so is it 1, is it 3, is it 5, is it 10? And this is the great thing about the optimizer. And we'll show you based on blended savings, energy savings, demand savings, electric bill savings, annual peak demand, and exported generation. So you want to hit the selected model, hit the optimizer, and I'm going to jump over here to this one right here, and this is what comes out. You can see right now I'm looking at selected model, Yotta Energy right here, and you can look at blended savings. Blended savings is dollars saved divided by kilowatt hour capacity of the battery. And if you've never seen our optimizer, when you're looking at blended savings, you will typically see a downward dip the larger that battery goes. Very, very common. You can then go and look at energy savings, demand savings, electric bill savings, annual peak demand, and exported generation. I'm going to stick with electric bill savings today, and you can see I'm looking at both rates. I'm looking at the ALTOU rate, the original rate, and the DGR rate. You can see the system quantity minimum max. I actually cranked it up to 20 just to kind of see a greater range. Now we can take a look and see at the steady growth based on, it's a single unit. This is 3 units, 5 units, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 is right here, all the way to 20 units. You can see it's a nice steady line. It does start to decrease a little bit as you get up here, but you can then start working with your regional account manager, regional sales manager, and Mitch, and really figure out what is best for you based on, hey, I'm saving $6,906. My cost is this. How many years payback? You can do the quick math in your head, really get a great starting point until, and then move forward and see how that matches up once you start looking at the cash flow and the ROI and all that. I'm going to go with 10 today. It seems to be right when it starts to plateauing out. You can see it puts 10 right in here. You can then see you've got your installed ESS cost. That's an approximate cost. You can hit the Get Acumen quote button right here. And what that will do is between Mitch and the regional sales manager, they will get you a cost of what that system will cost you. This did switch when I switched it, so I'm going to switch that back over. And then I'm going to hit save. So as it's saving, the simulation is running. And so that there is a great way of really feeling confident on I have got the approximate right number of batteries, and I'm knowing exactly what that battery is going to save you. It's bringing you to this page. You can see the blended savings of $177 savings per kilowatt hour. Once again, you can hit the Get Acumen quote and get the cost for yourself. You can see all the different settings we have. We've got the end of life setting, replace, exports, offset. We're doing stacking, can export to grid. I said no, all that. Once you get this set up, you can go to cost and incentives, add your incentives, just like you did with your PV. Another function I want to show you is ETB analytics. I love this view. I got an analytical mind. I love to see the numbers. And you can start by looking at the different display options. Whatever you select here, it will change down here. You can really take a nice view. But more importantly, I love the visualization that you can see here. I'm going to select June right here, and I'm going to click into this grayed out chart. It brings up such a pretty picture, kind of showing you everything that is going on. So to zoom in, I'm going to select 2 days right here to give you a 2-day view. You can see the rate down here. And you can see that we're looking at June 12th. You can see the two rates, the ALTOU and the DGR. I'll unselect these two just to clean it up a little bit more. And you can see how it affects what you're going on with your system. You've got your solar PV. You've got your battery state of charge right here and when it's deciding to discharge. And you can see why it's starting to discharge right here. It's that Acumen controls telling it, hey, this is the best time to reduce your demand and for the energy arbitrage opportunity, because if you look down here, the rate is spiked here, but we're no longer, the PV is no longer offsetting the load, so the battery is going to do that for you right here. So great way to look at it yourself, see what's happening, see if there's anything else you can add. Great way to explain to your clients too why you're adding that Yotta battery and why it's so beneficial. That's ETB analytics. Of course, you want to see what's the ROI, what's the levelized cost of electricity, what's the net present value, payback period. Go down to transactions, hit the plus button. It brings you to this page. We have our integrated financiers. Talk to your account managers about these. They can make the introductions if you're interested in working with these guys. Otherwise, you can go to the ETB transaction gallery and choose a transaction that works for you. You can see we have a number of in there. I chose cash purchase right here. You can see IRR 25.7, payback period of 3.2 years. Very, very healthy, a really good project. Finally, of course, you want to show the client what you've done for them. So you go to Manage Documents. Click the Manage Documents button, and then you go to, you can add your document right here. So you go to ETB Document Gallery and click on that and choose the documents that you want to see. You can see a number of documents right down the left-hand side here. I'm going to hit Cancel. I chose a document right here, and I'm going to view it just to show you everything that's going on. Takes a second to bring up. And here we go. We have our document. It's rendering for a quick second. This is a very basic document. You can edit it to make it look the way you want to, add your logo, add your pictures. We also have a service that we will do that for you. Again, chat with us. We can tell you the pricing on that. We do some really nice documents out there that you can use for multiple projects, save you time and money. But you got your table of contents, your About Us page, your project portfolio, your project summary, your PV system details, your energy storage system details, rebates and incentives, an explanation of those, your utility rates. Here you are, the ALTOU and DGR rate. This is your current electric bill. This is what you're paying right now. This is your new electric bill by the ALTOU rate and the DGR rate. Finally, your cash flow, see how this is all going into effect, and a detailed cash flow if you want to get a little more detailed, and the environmental benefits at the end. There is one last thing I want to show. I know we're running out of time. I'm going to jump back into the platform. Mitch mentioned something else that we've done fairly new, and that is modeling grid services. Now that we have our battery here, hit this little green button on the left-hand side. You can see we're working with the DSGS program. Right now, we are adding more, so more to come fairly soon. Hit continue. It will ask you your capacity commitment. We're doing the 2-hour battery. Do you have the SCHIP incentive? I'm going to say false, and I'm going to hit save. Right there, now we're adding that to the value we're saving, the value we're adding to that client, the money they're saving. Takes a couple seconds to calculate. You can see that's added $4,340. So that's a quick high-level view. Again, if you have more questions, reach out to your account manager. If you don't have access to the platform for right now because you are not an ETB developer user, try out the free 14-day free trial. You'll get assigned an onboarding manager, get full access to our site, and they can walk you through this. But thank you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
All right, Stephen, I'm going to take the screen back for some Q&A. We do have some coming in, so we want to answer as many as we can before the top of the hour, because I know we are getting there. But let me just make sure I'm sharing. There we go. Okay, so we had a couple questions that I wanted to get to. The first one, which Stephen, you did mention it at some point, but can you talk about how we get pricing, or maybe this is a Yotta question, how does somebody get pricing?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So for pricing, Stephen showed how you go about sizing the ESS, and it does kind of give you an estimated price. But then once you've settled on that size, you can text, you can email, however you want to get a hold of me, and just shoot me a quick say, hey, I just modeled this out. I've got 2 options. Here's one for 200 kilowatt hours of storage, and then I've got a bigger one that's 479 kilowatt hours of storage. What are my prices? And I can respond back with either just that price for the ESS, or if you want to send me your helioscope design or however you made your PV design, I can also give you a full BOM. Because our system does use our microinverter, I can give you the whole system cost. So, and again, just to reiterate, you don't need to add additional inverters to our system because the DPI inverter is both the PV inverter and the battery inverter. So I can give you a full quote, or whoever your RSM is within the Yotta org.
Thank you, Mitch. And Yotta team, feel free to jump in and answer any of the questions coming in through that questions panel. Another one we got is this available for any Energy Toolbase developer user? So Stephen, I'll probably give that one to you.
Yeah, so all you need to do to get access to do that is contact us at contact@energytoolbase.com. After this webinar, mention that you were on this and you'd like access to the Yotta modeling button, and that will be added, or just talk to your account manager and they can work with you on getting that.
Thanks, Stephen. We had one come in earlier. Does the Yotta system provide backup power so that SCHIP incentives aren't reduced by 50% for BESS systems that have the capacity of 2 hours or more of supply duration? That was a mouthful, but Yotta, that one's for you.
Our system does not provide backup, but that doesn't mean you can't add backup to your project. We've got numerous projects that have other backup battery systems added. where they're smaller systems, they are maybe more affordable, and they just provide backup. That's what they're there for. Maybe they can do some arbitrage as well. And then our system handles the majority of the financial benefits. So that peak shaving, unlocking your different rate plans, or additional arbitrage. Our system is probably more complicated, through the use of Energy Toolbase's Acumen hardware to figure out when to dispatch that stored energy. That way you don't have to cut into your available stored energy in your backup battery.
So the other thing I would add to that, Mitch, is quite often you're oversizing an energy storage system if you're exceeding 2 hours, and Yotta's battery is exactly on 2 hours. So having the increment of 1 kilowatt hour means that you're optimally sizing your energy storage system and not building it out in racks of 100 kilowatt hours, 250 kilowatt hours. Otherwise, it's to the exact kilowatt hour as Stephen sort of walked you through.
Awesome. Thank you, Mitch and Andrew. A question that came in is, what other grid service programs are next to be available in Energy Toolbase? Maybe Scott or Stephen can answer that one.
I'm happy to take that one. We're really proud to bring to market our ability to co-optimize these assets with the complexities around bill savings and offering grid services, maximizing your energy storage system in return. The next program excuse me, is the Northeast. We're so excited to break into the Northeast. So that first program is gonna concentrate in Massachusetts. Our timing of this might be RE+, so stop by the booth. We'll have a demo for you, but then we will expand out into the Northeast and then future programs to be built out throughout the country. If there's something specific you wanna talk through with Energy Toolbase, it'd be a great time to get it on our radar as we're planning for next year.
Thanks, Scott. And during your demo, Stephen, a question came in. The KW savings number during modeling, is that annual savings? Can you just touch on that a little bit more?
Yes, we show everything in annual savings.
Awesome. One question that came in, which this person may have missed in the beginning, and this is for Yotta or ETB, but what kind of projects is this equipment ESS ideal for? So maybe I'll give that to you first, Yotta.
Yeah, so I think right out the bat, it's for any three-phase commercial or industrial project, and especially if you are space constrained. So this eliminates a lot of that. Up to, we win the value prop conversation probably up to a megawatt hour of storage. So large projects are okay for our system. But we definitely win hand over fist at the smaller sizes because there's just so few options available. And then, Title 24, we like to say we're the easy button for that, where you get the exact size that that might call for.
Awesome, thanks, Mitch. Stephen, I'll give this one to you. Does ETB have rates for Eversource?
ETB has a variety of rates, like I said. Yes, we have some rates in there for Eversource. If you can't find the rates, we will definitely work with you on seeing if that's a rate that can be added. There's some complex rates out there that sometimes we need to do customized. And so without taking a look, chances are we have the rate you're looking at, but I can't remember, all the rates that we have in there.
Awesome, thanks, Stephen. I know we are at the top of the hour here, so we want to definitely be mindful of everyone's time. We did have another question come in about pricing, providing pricing. So for the battery energy storage system. So I just want to touch on that one more time. Mitch, if you would, just about pricing, how to get pricing.
Yeah, I saw the question. If you want to use sort of a placeholder value of 1,200 or 1,250, just to get a general idea, or just utilize the Energy Toolbase's estimate that kind of auto populates there. Should suffice for proposal generation, but the pricing is nuanced, and there's a lot of different tiers with the kilowatt hour size. So your best way to be accurate is just to ping us, and we're super quick. We understand it's not the easiest way to get your pricing, but you know, at the end of the day, what you're providing your customer is important, and you know, being accurate is probably the best. So just reach out to us.
Thanks so much, Mitch. And we are at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna stop it here. But any questions that you have, please, you know, contact Energy Toolbase or Yotta. We have the email on the screen right here, and we will be following up with your questions after the webinar with an email. So, you know, if we didn't answer them thoroughly, someone from either team will be in contact with you. We'll be sending out the slide deck and recording in an email, so be on the lookout for that. If you're not an ETB user, please sign up for our free trial or contact your account manager to get that Yotta option added to your account. And finally, come see us both at RE+. We'll be there. Our booth is 34039 and Yotta's is 2422. We are looking forward to seeing you all, and thank you to the Yotta team for joining us today on this webinar.
Yeah, thanks,
have a good
everybody.
one.
Thank you, folks.